Hi there, I'm Zach Kircher, and you're watching Kircher Talks Entertainment. I bid you welcome to the next episode in my series, I Have Never Seen, which as the name suggests, I review movies that I have never seen before, specifically older films that get voted on by all of you. For this 12th video in the series, I decided to do something a wee bit different with seeking approval for this particular review. One day I randomly looked at the showtimes for a local dollar theater called Pollock Cinemas, where I'd seen a couple of movies for this review series in the past. And among those currently playing movies at the time was The Notebook. Not only had I never seen that movie, but considering how significant that movie was for pop culture in the 2000s, still to this day even, I thought reviewing it would be a perfect opportunity for a video. I asked if you guys if you would feel the same, and you resoundingly voted yes. So here we are. If you're interested in helping decide what future videos in this series will be about, please consider subscribing to the channel and be sure to watch out for posts on my community page. All of the reviews for this series will be decided by the polls which are featured on that community page. Now before I go any further, in order for me to give my true feelings on this movie, I am going to need to talk about spoilers. Normally I don't do that for these types of reviews, but my opinion is not going to make much sense unless I talk specifics regarding key aspects of the plot. If you haven't seen The Notebook before, well, don't say I didn't warn you. So, why The Notebook? Well, I would have said that it would be to further prove to my wife that I'm not above watching chick flicks, but she doesn't even like this movie, so that didn't even matter here. I suppose part of the reason I put reviewing it up to a vote is that I hate the feeling of catching up with movies that have been a huge part of pop culture that I missed out on. To put yourself on a stage and convey that your opinions are worth hearing, only to then be confronted with the fact that hey, you haven't seen these big popular movies that everyone knows, can be an embarrassing feeling. That's why I really enjoy making videos for this series, since it gives me an excuse to fill in those gaps of essential movies I haven't watched, and hopefully the end result makes for a fun video for you to enjoy. The other thing about putting your opinion out there is that if you have a hot take to share, certain groups of people can take that opinion very seriously. When my mother-in-law and sister-in-law found out that I was making this video, they warned me that The Notebook is a movie that some groups of people get particularly defensive about. Not that my opinion would have been compromised by them saying that, I was just bracing for what the eventual reaction would be. I'll admit that I was preparing for the worst going into this movie, since author Nicholas Sparks, who wrote the original book that this movie was based on, has a reputation of pissing people off with his stories, particularly in the cliches that they follow and for being emotionally manipulative. To a degree, I think The Notebook kind of falls under those categories, but I was actually surprised that I came away from the experience not having hated it. First off, I do really like the framing device here. Going into the movie, I honestly didn't realize that the titular notebook was referring to a journal that the film's main romance is told from. Beyond that, I also didn't realize that as we see James Garner's character read the notebook's contents to Gina Rowland's character, we are actually seeing the elderly selves of Noah and Allie, the people who Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams played. As the movie got going, it wasn't really hard for me to piece together what was happening, but it was still a nice surprise for me that the story was going to end up being a little less straightforward than I thought it was going to be. If I'm being honest though, the result of the movie telling these parallel stories like this, one in the past and then one more in the present day, is a mixed bag. For me, I actually prefer the segments with these characters when they're older as opposed to their younger selves. Maybe I'm just an old soul struck in a 30-year-old body, but these days I get much more out of romance stories that are built around real, lived-in relationships. The whole hook of will they, won't they? I don't know, it's just not that compelling to me. I don't know what that says about me, but I feel fulfilled enough in my life that at this point I would rather see people already in a relationship work through their issues and come out better for it, since that's much more applicable to me. I'm not looking for romance or anything. I'm looking for just stability and ways to continue to work through the challenges of life. And when a romance focuses on that, I feel it benefits me more to my personal values and whatnot. These characters as an older couple have a much more complicated relationship, since Allie is suffering from dementia, and it makes Noah's attempts to help her remember their life together all that more meaningful. Whenever the movie focuses its time on the present day where Noah is quite literally fighting for his wife's memory and their shared happiness, yeah, it's hard to watch, but the emotional impact was real. When Allie remembers Noah for even the most fleeting moment, it's bittersweet and tragic because the performances really sold that there is a long, love-filled history between these two people. They give the material the grace and tenderness it needs to let these scenes shine through as the best, most emotionally resonant moments of the entire movie. I think them dying together holding hands in the way that they were was a bit too corny for me, but otherwise, I really liked this side of the film. As you probably guessed, I didn't care as much for the material set during the 1940s. And it really sucks to say that, because the majority of the film takes place during that period. For what I value in a romance story, though, these scenes did not give me any of that. But I will give the movie this. Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams are hot, and they sure can act. Those shared qualities between the two of them make their scenes tolerable. It doesn't surprise me in any way that they still get plenty of work to this day, what with Rachel McAdams having the time of her life with Send Help, and then you have Ryan Gosling in Project Hail Mary that just got a whole bunch of money at the box office, and he's going to be the main character in a Star Wars movie next year. However well that they play off of each other in this movie, though, they can't save their characters from being really annoying to watch, especially when they're together. I already knew I wasn't on this movie's wavelength when Noah idiotically risks his life on the Ferris wheel just to get Allie to date him. This was not a meet cute. It was a meet stupid.
Well, you growling me?
What?
Man, sit your dumb ass down.
Their relationship essentially boils down to either exchanging sweet nothings, unleashing all of their sexual urges on each other, or arguing in fits of unbridled rage. For all that the movie does to make their relationship sympathetic, when Allie's parents call for their breakup at summer's end and call it a summer fling, I can't really argue with that. I just didn't care about them as a couple. Honestly, when Allie meets James Marsden's Lon and they get engaged, I thought that she would have been better off with him. The dude truly didn't do anything wrong, and yet Allie cheats on him. Is that supposed to make me like her more? Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to impose my morals on this movie or anything like that, for there are plenty of movies with all kinds of different relationships that I've enjoyed. But in the process of writing this review, and in thinking about those other movies whose romances worked on me, I kept thinking about Jack and Rose in Titanic. The two of them are very similar to Noah and Allie in a number of different ways. They're very young, naive to an extent, and also come from greatly different financial backgrounds. Rose also cheats on her fiancé with Jack, but the key differences in why I like their relationship as opposed to Noah and Allie's are threefold. One, their interactions with each other leading up to the love scenes felt organic, fun to watch, and very charming. Two, the movie gives us some emotional stakes to care about for their courtship. And three, Rose's fiancé Cal Hockley is a real douchebag. I don't condone cheating at all, but at least in this case, I get it. Jack was actually giving something to Rose that Cal could never or even want to give her. Going back to the Notebook, I have to admit that Noah writing a letter to Allie every day for a year, and later after serving in World War II, rebuilding a lakeside house with his bare hands, are pretty significant ways to show his love to her. It's clear to me that he never got over the one that got away. But still, the story never convinced me how and why they stuck with each other for decades. Their relationship started off on, at least in my opinion, an unstable foundation of lust, and the film didn't allow enough time for our main characters to just exist together on the screen space. I would have rather seen them get married much earlier on in the movie, and then the story written in the Notebook be about episodes in their life where they experienced love, loss, or whatever that brought them closer as a couple. At least that way I would have been more willing to believe that they were endlessly devoted to each other, literally right to the very end. You ever wonder why people think that the prologue of Up is one of the best written love stories ever? At the end of the day, you might have gotten the impression that I hate this movie, but like I said earlier, I don't. There is merit to The Notebook for sure, what with its good performances, the very sumptuous cinematography, and the fact that the scenes with elderly Noah and Allie are genuinely impactful. I can also appreciate that the scenes with elderly Noah and Allie raise awareness to the fact that dementia is a nasty mental condition. Both of my parents' moms passed away from dementia, so when I see a fictional character suffering from that, part of me is grateful that more people can be made aware of just how awful it is. But really, when it comes down to it, when I watch a romance movie, I expect the bare minimum of at least caring about the main characters being happy together. I did not feel that way at all after finishing The Notebook, so what else can I say? And I don't have anything else to say, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel. For doing both of those things really does help my channel grow, and I will see you all in the next one.